Quick disclaimer, I'm not wholeheartedly certain that everything I'm about to say in this video is true. The reason that I'm doing this video is because I think it's helpful to think about some of the more theoretical ideas so that we can explore a wider range of arguments that we might be able to use. So here's my proposal for this video. Jesus, on the day of his crucifixion, experienced a heart attack. While on the cross, after having experienced hours of torture and exhaustion and bleeding and demoralization and all of this stuff that happened to him, after all of that, Jesus was scourged in his side by a spear, as it says in John 19:34. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and at once there came out blood and water. It seems like a strangely peculiar detail to include in the narrative, but none of the other Gospels include it. But this detail is actually severely important for this argument, especially considering the medical developments that we've made over the past, 2,000 years. The presence of water around the heart and lungs area of the body is consistent with what we now know as hypovolemic shock, which, if I'm understanding it correctly, is basically a heart attack that is as a result of physical damage done to the body. But like really bad physical damage. Other symptoms that are consistent with hypovolemic shock are things like muscular shutdown, which is what we see when Jesus collapsed carrying the cross and Simon had to go help him. Or dehydration, which is what we see when Jesus said he was thirsty while he was on the cross. This observation wasn't really entirely understood until the 1900s when the Vietnam and Korean Wars came around. When medical science was trying to figure out devastating wounds that were happening, what they discovered was these symptoms that were happening as a result of war. So the medical observation of hypovolemic shock was not something that the biblical writers could have possibly made up if the story was fabricated. The New Testament writers just didn't have access to the kind of information to make this narrative scientifically consistent. It's pretty mind-blowing to recognize that we can pull small details from the Bible and recognize a medical diagnosis from it. That should act as at least some reasonable recognition that the biblical account is true. And I personally think that this says a lot about the faithfulness of the New Testament writers to write down every detail that they observed about what was happening at the time. So even if you don't buy this argument about Jesus experiencing a heart attack on the day of his crucifixion, this argument helps to reveal the character of the New Testament writers to write down every single detail carefully as they observed it happening, which I think says a lot about the New Testament overall and the attitude that was approached in creating it. I think this shows that the New Testament writers genuinely believed in Jesus and believed what he stood for, and I think that says a lot about the trustworthiness of the New Testament overall. And that's all for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe to this channel if you like what I do here and you want to see more. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one, and thanks for debating with me.